This happened on a Monday night. I got off work around 8 and went straight home to game with some friends. I'd been divorced a few months earlier. The house felt too quiet most nights. Gaming, talking, staying online with people helped. It made the empty rooms easier to ignore. A storm was coming. They'd warned about flash flooding, but around here, those alerts come every time a cloud shows up. I didn't think much of it. I figured I'd be on the headset all night anyway. Around 11, in the middle of a match, a huge gust hit the house. It sounded like someone had slammed into the side of the building. The whole place shook. I half took my headset off and could hear rain pouring. The house creaked. The windows rattled. My screen flicked. The lights blinked with it. For a second, everything went dark and then came back. My friends were still in the Discord call. I asked if they could hear me. Before anyone answered, my PC shut down. The lights went out. The whole house went black. I felt for my phone on the desk. I turned on the little flashlight. It was just me in the dark. Annoyed, I told the group chat I'd probably be off for the night. Then I went downstairs to the basement to get the old battery bank I keep for emergencies. It's small, but it powers a lamp or two. The basement smelled like damp cardboard. I found the battery pack and started carrying it back up. Halfway up the stairs, I thought I heard something behind me. Old houses do that in storms. Boxes shift, ducts moan. I turned, nothing. I blamed the wind. I plugged a lamp into the battery in the living room. I don't like sleeping when the power's out. It feels wrong. I opened the blinds and sat on the couch, phone in hand, watching lightning. The lamp made a small circle of normal in a house that otherwise felt empty. After an hour, I opened the front door to check the street. The overhang kept most of the rain off the porch. Across the road, a few houses had lights on. It looked normal. I checked outage maps on my phone. Nothing listed for my neighborhood. That should have settled it. It didn't. A minute later, I got a text message from an unknown number. It said there were downed power lines and to expect outages. No company name, no official ID. The tone was casual. It didn't say who it was from. I thought it was odd. I thought about scrolling my neighbor's social pages, calling the utility, doing something logical. I didn't. I put the phone down. Then I heard a step. At first, it was a single creak, like someone taking one slow step on the old stairs to the basement. I've lived in that house long enough to know the sound of my stairs. I froze. My phone's light was a narrow cone. I shined it down the hall and leaned toward the open basement door. The basement door was open. I could have sworn I had closed it. It sat wide, black at the bottom of the stairs. I shone the light down. I could see the top step and a coat of dust disturbed where someone had walked. Nothing else. I didn't go down. I closed the door. That's when the running started. Heavy, stomping steps came up the stairs. Right under my feet, the floor trembled. They hit the door like a fist. At first, I thought someone was trying to scare me. Then the hitting got harder, shoulders into wood. The door shook. There was no lock. There was nothing between me and whatever was on the other side except a hollow door and whatever courage I could find. I held my weight against it. I shouted. I don't remember what I said. I remember the panic. I remember grabbing my phone and dialing 911 with numb fingers. The pounding stopped the second they heard me call. The footsteps retreated down the stairs, and then the house went quiet again, apart from the storm. I got in my car and left before the squad arrived. I sat across the street and watched the house. 10 minutes passed. 3 officers went inside. They searched every room. They found nothing. They said he'd gone out the back door. No sign of forced entry, they told me. No fingerprints they could tie to anyone. No clear leads. They took my statement and put up a patrol presence for a while, then left. Nothing. After that, it became a mess of questions. Whoever had been in the house knew my number. They had sent that fake text about the outage. They had apparently cut my power. They knew enough to expect me to step outside to check the street. I always lock the basement door. I always close it. I knew I hadn't left it open. Someone had been in the house with me. They had been close enough to watch me and to make sure I didn't look in the right places. I asked myself the same things everyone else asked. Why me? Why my number? Why the text? The officer said people do targeted things sometimes. That didn't make me feel any better. It made me feel watched. A few nights later, I started sleeping on friends' couches. I changed routines. I unplugged things I left on. The police called a few times. They were polite, but there was no news. No cameras in the area had picked him up. Neighbors hadn't seen anything that night. The storm had covered a lot. The tracks in the yard had washed away. I went back to the house once during the day. I walked the rooms carefully. The living room was the same. The lamp was still plugged into the battery bank. The basement door had a faint smear on the inside that looked like a glove. The officers had photographed it. The report said there was no DNA to match. The glove was gone. Whoever he was, he'd been careful. Here's the part that still gets to me. We found out the outage text came from a private phone. Not the utility, not a mass alert. A normal burner-style number. The police traced it to a cell tower in the area. The timestamp showed the message was sent right after I stepped outside to look at the street. It wasn't an accident. It was an attempt to make me think there had been an outage so I wouldn't check the breaker or the meter or the outside fuse. It was meant to keep me inside until he was done.
We don't know what he wanted. No valuables were taken. No obvious motive. The only thing that ever made sense was that he wanted me not to look where I could have seen him, where he altered something or where he hid. That idea is simple, and it left me with 100 small fears. Weeks passed. I moved the battery bank to a different closet. I put a deadbolt on the basement door. I installed the cheap motion light on the back of the house. I did the things you do when you have an experience like that and the police say there is no active suspect. Then, 3 months later, I got another text from the same unknown number. It was late, I'd been out. I was sitting at a diner, half distracted by the coffee and the road. My phone buzzed. I almost ignored it. The number was the same string of digits that had sent the outage text. I opened the message. It said, very plainly, "Thanks for turning the light on." No joke, no question mark, no emoji. My hands went cold. I checked the timestamp. The message had been sent the night of the storm, the same night he'd been in the basement, the same night the officers found no one. The message had not appeared in my phone before. It appeared now, 3 months later. If you don't know how messaging servers work, they won't hold a text and suddenly deliver it months later. Not like that. But the timestamp matched the night everything happened. I called the police back. I showed them the message. They were as unsettled as I was. They looked at the metadata. The number was still unregistered. They said it could be spoofed. They said a lot of things to make the technical part of it make sense. None of it made me feel safer. I stopped opening my front door without a look through the peephole. I started checking under the car before I got in. I slept with lights on. I stopped leaving the lamp plugged in. People told me to move. People told me to change my number, to get a restraining order, to install cameras. I did some of those things. Not all of them helped. There's a kind of fear that follows you that gadgets and law enforcement can't fix. It's a sense of being seen in places you thought you were private. Months later, after I'd moved to an apartment and tried to forget, my phone buzzed again. Same number. No message content this time, just a timestamp note the police said was probably forged. I deleted it. I tried not to look at the old house when I drove past. I told myself the messages were pranks. I told myself I was being paranoid.
But when it first happened, when the steps came up from the basement and the door shook, I knew someone had been closer to me than anyone should be. I knew someone had been in the spaces of my house I never let anyone into. I knew they had seen the inside of me on a night when I thought I was alone. And the thing that never made sense, the thing that still wakes me in the middle of the night, is this. The last text wasn't a threat. It wasn't a ransom note. It was a simple, polite sentence, almost friendly. Thanks for turning the light on. It suggests more than a break-in. It suggests someone who planned for me to do something, someone who expected me to make the house brighter for their benefit, someone who knew what I would do, someone who knew me well enough to guess my exact reaction. I don't know if they were left that night. I don't know if the person who sent that message was still in the house when the officers searched it. I only know the lamp was on. I only know the door shook. And I know that even now, months later, that polite little message sits in my phone like a footprint in wet cement. Sometimes, when the lights blink during a storm, I reach for my phone and, out of habit, turn a lamp on. It feels like an invitation. It feels like I'm doing exactly what someone wanted me to do. And maybe, for all I know, they're still waiting for me to do.